Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we're bringing you day 342 of Russian invasion into Ukraine. As always, in a conversational format between Olexiy Arestovych, former advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all in Feigin Live. Today is Tuesday, January 31st. Time is 10 p.m. in Kiev and 11 p.m. in Moscow. And we're doing the usual stream, day 342 with Olexiy Arestovich. Olexiy, hello. Good evening. We have over 100,000 watching us, about 30,000 clicked the like button. And my usual ask to all viewers, please continue sharing links to our streams, to this specific one, and of course subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening or watching that in English. Under the description of that video there are more links to the accounts of presenting parties. Alright, we have not met since Saturday. There's a bunch of news to discuss. Let's go over that and then maybe take a look at the map, because things were changing there as well. We'll try to make this one an intensive stream. Alright, so support of and supply of tanks was, I think, concluded deal. So that is going to happen, and now we can talk about, or we can see that in Europe they are eager to discuss the matter of supplying F-16s, jet fighters, and also people are discussing the statement by Biden, President of the United States, that United States does not have plans to supply F-16 jets to Ukraine, and he apparently was not entirely clear on that, and then White House had to step in and elaborate that currently they indeed do not have these plans. But in Europe, President of France and others continue discussing this topic and saying that it needs to be brought up. What are your comments on this? Mark, I think we're seeing exactly the same thing as we've seen time and time again. About javelins, about howitzers, about HIMARS, no, never, under no circumstances, and then boom, all of a sudden they're already on the front and fighting. F-16, by the way, is not only on the roster of the United States, other countries can supply that. The main question would be that the United States would provide technical service and repairs, because it's their manufactured product. So you think, in perspective, this is not a serious discussion that should not be looked at? Well, no. I think this is still a serious discussion. Countries do figure things out, and often basically they want to not surprise Moscow with things in advance, so they could be saying no for a while until all of a sudden it's there. Also, Europe is being called the country of different, European Union is a political entity of different speeds. And some of them would be saying, oh, please convince us, tell us more. Others eager to go and help. And, suddenly some things end up being, they're already being used under Bakhmut. And even members of EU, they always sometimes bickering with each other, trolling each other. So, let's keep observing how it unfolds. All right. And that kind of reflects on the first assistant to the press secretary of the White House, Ms. Dalton, evaded the questions about supplies of new armaments to Ukraine, and she could have diplomatically evaded these questions, and different resources discussing that react differently to that. And she announced the conversation that Biden will have with Zelensky on the matters of military aid. I don't know if that already concluded or not, but yeah, there likely will be another conversation between the leaders. Mark, yeah, the media wants to make another series out of these events where you await certain things, then you get disappointed, then you get inspired again, then you're biting nails and sitting on the edge of the couch. Personally, I think this is just a set of diplomatic games and discussions. I know how it works. Until there is a single position formed, most of them will be evading questions and saying this is not my competence. They'll be just evasive in answering that. The first one who, by the way, was not evading was the Prime Minister of Netherlands, Rutte, who said that we can supply, why not? I would remind that just a few weeks ago, German government was refusing supply of tanks. They can supply anything but tanks. So, okay, well, other countries stepped in, said we can. And now the situation changed in Germany as well. So I think it's the same that's going to happen with jets. All right, I've been alive for 6 minutes. Thank you, Olexiy. Let's take a look at the map. There's a bunch of news there that kind of foggy how they affect the situation. What do you mean by news? Some motion, some paratroopers, some crossing the borders between warring sides on left and right banks of Dnieper River. And it seems like the front line is wavering, expecting for a big offensive from Russia. Our Ministry of Intel actually posted a video of some of our troops crossing the river near Kherson. When it was confirmed later, they destroyed a forward operating base, killed 12 officers, took 1 prisoner. So, and the good thing that we do not forewarn or do not talk about these things as they unfold. Sometimes we need to give some time for the operators to complete. Russian occupants keep intensively shelling our cities. Kherson was shot 42 times with artillery last 24 hours. They shot the gas station, civilian housing, school, regional hospital. And that's just for a day. 3 dead, 6 wounded. That's local administration. A lot other towns around the border were shelled. More people dying. They're shooting at anything they can. They're shooting at civilian multi-story housing facilities, and they just don't care. So they're not, at least the masks are off, so they're not pretending to shoot anything military now. And this is the tragedy for civilians, of course. But let's look at the map. Okay, we are showing the map, Olexiy. Okay, good. I don't see the stream, so I'm just having a map on my screen. So on Ugledar, they tried offensive operation. Didn't work out for them. According to some data, 135th Brigade was completely destroyed during one of the attempts to storm our positions. And some of the Russian media screaming that they tried attacking Ukrainian positions, even captured some, but then they were all destroyed and pushed out. And Ukraine even gained some land. And that's the ones who, by the way, usually say truthful things that are saying that. On Marinka, see that these 2 arrows? They've frozen like that for about 3 weeks right now. They are not succeeding. Marinka itself is like a moonscape. Everything is destroyed in rumbles and ruins, but there's no motion. They cannot continue capturing it. Now they're still trying to surround Avdiivka, but some evil tongues are saying that they're just failing and dying in bunches. And the north, it also is not working out for them. Let's take Bakhmut next. There is uncomfortable motion from Klishevka. See that Russian red protrusion going toward the road, and that goes pretty close to the road. I do trust the deep state map, and they're usually mostly adequate. Some of our media also confirming that unofficially, but they are. Official statements by our general command says that there is heavy fighting in that area. We can understand that they are basically trying to encircle. And if you see, it's Krasna Gora, this red mount. This is generally a higher position, which is hard to be stormed and attacked from the lower side. So they're trying to surround it and see if they can do the pincer movement. In the north, they said that they captured Blagodatne village already twice. I think they confirmed that, and our command is still saying the fights are ongoing. So we'll see in the next few days what's going on there. From Solidar, they're starting to move to the north, and basically that's a motion to try to encircle Siversk to get rid of that Ukraine protrusion into their side and Siversk, and I think they understand general tactical motions that they need to do, and that's the war they're trying to fight here. It's pretty obvious. As for Kremenaya, a bit to the north, there is an arrow to Chervona Popivka. Our side says that we repelled their attacks, and according to Russian media, they are being attacked and they're successfully repelling Ukrainian. So that seems to be the case for the last few weeks as well. And this is the general logic. They do want to surround and take Bakhmut, and they want to encircle and take Avdiivka and Siversk. So 3 small kettles, which might give them operative success as they interpret that, which might give them a chance to set a new line, Chasov Yar, Yampol, Toretsk, which will be on their side trumpeted as the huge success. We kind of understand and see where they're going. They're slowly increasing the effort. And after that, they're probably looking at Konstantinovka, Slavyansk, Kurakhova. That would be the next line. And then the next would be Svetogorsk, Kupiansk. So that's probably what Gerasimov is telling Putin, that he might straighten out the whole front line with this new 200,000. Don't ask me for any Napoleon moves. It'll be a slow grind with a lot of losses, but maybe we can do that. And Putin is not swayed by that. He confirms likely, and according to every sign, that they still continue going, and they want to get to better positions for negotiations. And in regards to answers from generals, what if we deplete everything doing that operation? What shall we do when, what are we to do when Ukraine decides to do counteroffensive? How are we going to stop them? And I don't think Putin gives them a proper answer. I think he's just expecting that he somehow would hold. So as we initially talked about a month ago, that March, end of February, will be the time of heavy fighting on the Eastern Front. There'll be a lot of heavy fighting there, and we do need a lot of weapons, armor. Our president is trying to organize that from our allies at this moment, and he has been talking about that too. I do want to remind our viewers that Russian side will be doing a lot of information psychological special operations, IPSOs and so-called, and they'll be trying to draw attention to other directions of the front and pretend that there may be more motion there, that the actual offensive will be someplace else. But we'll try to work, we'll try to interpret what's happening. We so far do not see the actual strike group. We just see a slow motion on their side, but we do see the special psychological ops when the governors on the Russian side are talking that they're building wider roads towards the border with Ukraine, that they are preparing for transport and for further unfolding of events. And for some people, for some who are not in the know, that these statements, these news may pose certain warnings and threats, but in reality, this is just a psychological maneuver. They look at the front. Their main operation side is Bakhmut, Siversk, and Svatova. That's where they're doing the motion. Zaporozhye, they're semi-defensive near Ugledar. It's pretty weak. They tried to portray that they are actually doing an offensive operation there, but miserably failed. All right. Thank you. 287,000 are watching us. About 80,000 click the like button. Please do not forget to subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening or watching that in English. That is important. This is the way you can help that whole effort to resist Russian criminal war. Okay, since we talked on Saturday, the question with Iran news happened, and I think the warehouses and production of those UAVs, those drones, was damaged. Now the general public opinion seems to be that Israel done it, and it seems like that. Do you see any connection in the matter of security of Israel and their coordinated efforts together with the United States? And it's not only Kiev who is interested in that factory being destroyed. I would say even Saudi Arabia is also interested, because their oil infrastructure was attacked by the same drones before. And on the other hand, it does also bring a question to light: what did Moscow pay to Iran in return for this military aid? What do you think about it? Let's address in the orderly fashion. For now, we know for sure about one attack that happened. This is the airbase. Who done it and what was used for that, it's still not confirmed. And there are not information about the victims. There was also a strike on the column of trucks on the border of Syria and Iraq. That's the road that the road that Iran is using to transport weapons to the Syrian side and to the Syrian war. There were worse attacks. There were attacks on the base in Kermanshah, and it's not the first attack on Iran. And we don't know what the scope of the damage was. We don't know exactly what was destroyed. Iran doesn't confirm the scale of destruction. They're not saying that any factory for production of UAVs was damaged. And their usual production for that is underground. So this is a typical setup for such a manufacturing facility in Iran. Israel and Iran are conducting a slow-burning warfare against each other, and that basically is really in the usual framework of their strikes. One would not suspect that these attacks will affect Iran's capability to supply drones to Russia. I think pointed attack on one airbase cannot really disrupt that operation and that exchange between Iran and Putin's Russia. Of course, Ukrainians who are being attacked with these Iranian drones, and they likely will continue to be used. And once again, in the next few days, please do not express bravado when you hear warning sirens. That's to my compatriots. Ukrainian citizens do not ignore the warning signs, the sirens, and we are at about the time when I think they are ready to do another volley, and they likely will use some of the Iranian drones as well. So I would say these events unfolding in Iran is, in general, flow of events and military engagements between Israel and Iran. And from what we know, at least for now, the attacks did not disrupt the capability of Iran to supply UAVs. And Olexiy, they probably didn't affect their will to do that as well, right? I suspect so. Correct. All right. We've been live for about 20 minutes, and we have some time. Hang on, I'm getting a note here from my military friends that over the last 24 hours we had several successful hits on the operating basis, and we still need to verify a couple mentions, but in one of these commanding posts, Russia lost 70 officers at one hit, and they're talking about several successful hits like that, so... And these guys I usually trust. In any case, in a few days we'll have it bubble up to the level that can be re-verified by the media. All right. So the next question about Wagner and that private mercenary corps and their conflict with well-known personas like Stelkov and the others is continuing. Today, by the way, there was in the news somewhere that Abramovich has given or is giving 3 billion euros to Ukraine after selling Chelsea, his soccer team. These means need to go to Ukraine. But again, you know, it's unclear. Has he just promised, or has he already delivered on this promise? And Stelkov in Russia reacted to that and said, what will Wagner do now to Abramovich when they can get hands onto him with that huge patriot of Russia, Abramovich? Mark, this is a small squabble between the characters. Right, but I'm trying to draw a bigger question that it seems from different sources that the presence of Wagner is diminishing on the front. And Bakhmut and Solidar, they're being replaced by mobilized and by military units. Do you know anything about that? Can it be read as actions of Gerasimov to expel Wagner as the unit in this war? I think we cannot neglect such version, Mark. This indeed is somewhat logical for that to happen. Wagner did suffer substantial losses. German intel and Institute of War evaluated Wagner's losses at 4,000 dead and over 10,000 wounded in just about a couple of weeks that they've been taking Solidar. That's not since August, so we understood, right? That's just 2-3 weeks recently. And it's difficult to gauge their losses, but I think they lost indeed a lot, and the losses were growing. Why? Because the tactics switched from artillery to infantry. And it always means that the losses will pile up. Results will be presented, yes, but at a huge cost. And we also did several successful attacks on Volnovakha. This is a railroad that supplies Makeyevka, Ugledar, and we also hit a bunch of bases in Ugledar, in Lugansk and Donetsk regions. And we are doing our own war in cleaning up their capacity to use artillery shells on us. So we're cleaning out, taking out any warehousing units in our reach near the front. And as for, so they have to use more troops. Yes, and Wagner, they're saying they're somewhat diminishing on the Eastern Front, but they were noticed in Zaporozhye in the south. Again, nothing to be afraid of. They're not a major player. They're just sprinkled in there, among others. And if that motion indeed started, we'll see it unfolding in a week or so, 3 days maybe. Well, we can cautiously state that after such a strain, that the strain of efforts by, as they did in Solidar, any organization would need to regroup. And if in Russia they're somewhat running out of the resource of inmates that are not too actively joining their force, or if military is precluding these transfers, so they definitely do need to regroup then. Well, since we're discussing that undercarpet conflict between Gerasimov and Prigozhin, well, Mark, this is not a hidden conflict. Just us, we probably addressed it 50 times already. Well, they're calling it, as a unimportant, unofficial. I agree, Mark. Unofficial conflict is probably a better description for that, because it definitely is a visible conflict. It's just both sides are refusing to acknowledge that publicly. And one more thing, situation with Mikhail Saakashvili is difficult still, it's pretty dire. He indeed had COVID. I talked to members of his party. He's pretty bad. He was losing consciousness, and his mother is the only person they let him in. After COVID, he actually is coming in and out of consciousness, and reportedly he is in ICU, and he is refusing the usual forced feeding. So since the Georgian leadership is neglecting and very inhumane to that situation, then I think we will not be affecting them. We will start affecting, especially after consulting with a bunch of important people in the Georgian community. We will, on the 20th of February, do another big action, but we will be targeting the political sides in the capitals of European cities. Not in front of the Georgian embassies. There is nothing to convince them of. We'll be doing that in front of the parliaments and administrative leadership of these countries. So 20th of February is a big day for that event. Please start preparing, submit your applications for the protests, for the events, to hold it in front of parliaments and any main establishments where government is making decisions, presidential or otherwise. So please start preparing. And again, the message will be sanctions and maybe negotiations with Georgian leadership about Saakashvili. Leadership of his party is going to support us. Georgian communities around the world already actively engaged in this action, and we are asking our viewers to join this effort. We do need to affect the way it is unfolding with Georgia. We do need to get official leaders of European and American continents to pose these questions to Georgia, because we don't want Georgian government to then fake their surprise that, oh, we didn't know that Mikhail will die. So we don't have too much time. We have 20 days to prepare. This is duration that we need to use effectively to prepare for that protest. And I call upon Georgian communities and Ukrainian communities and Russians, those who support the effort, everybody else from the ex-USSR, the immigrants community, please support that action, and every other friend of ours. It is important. Maybe you can add a little bit. Yes, I will. We are defending a human that Georgian government wants to kill. And in this situation, nobody should be indifferent. All right. That's a good statement, Olexiy. Thank you. And we'll stop our stream at this at half an hour. We promised to let him go 30 minutes in, and we have a couple technical conflicts here, so we will continue in the near future. And let's pacify some of our viewers that indeed, if the events will start unfolding rapidly, uh, I'm getting specifically a ton of messages that, guys, we are having withdrawals. Please come back online more often. If there'll be serious events unfolding, we will be coming out more often. Exactly, Mark. Let's just tell everybody that if there'll be a serious set of news, a serious pace of events happening, we will be coming even twice a day on air if need be. And my apologies, I'm still on the trip. You can see it in my background. Olexiy is in his usual location, but yeah, we'll try to change a few things soon, and in February we'll have a bunch of new surprises for all our viewers. And besides that action that we're calling Misha 2, we'll have more things in store for you. All right, I think that's it. We'll see each other on Thursday and discuss what happens until then. Everybody, goodbye. Please continue sharing, liking, and subscribing to Feigin Live, to Olexiy, and to the Privateer Station. See you Thursday.